Guess what we are making today? A parachute dress. This is a dress that I've made like 4 or 5 times now. I have one in blue, one in white, one in pink. I'm familiar with the process. And I have a bunch of green chiffon that's literally just begging to be made into a parachute dress. If you're wondering what I mean when I say parachute dress, I'm pretty much just talking about a really flowy, billowy dress that I wear outside. Yeah, it's like got like a sheared top and it ties on the, I'll just show you a picture here. This is what we're making, but we're making it in green because I have green fabric and it sounds like fun. In this house we craft in pajamas, let's get to it. These two are the fabrics that will make up the body of the dress. They're both just chiffon, and then because they're sheer, this is the fabric that's going to go underneath the dress. Now, does it all really match? No, it doesn't. But green is green is green is green, and I'm going with it because it's what I have. This is the elastic thread that I need to hand wind the bobbins up with. Sorry, the audio got weird in this one little clip. No idea why. Then I can start, so it's winding time. Ever hand wound elastic thread around a bobbin, then you already know what I'm going to say. Don't stretch the elastic. You want the thread to be wound gently around the bobbin and not stretched to the max. There is a good medium, and after sewing with the elastic thread a few times, you'll find what that balance is, but until then, be gentle and put on a movie or something. You're gonna need like 10 or 12 bobbins full to do a project like this, and winding that many bobbins takes like 20 minutes. The worst thing you could do at a time like this is leave yourself to your own thoughts. Might I recommend watching Alexandria Lane on YouTube? That's a good place to start. Now that I have a bunch of bobbins wound and ready to go, it's time to prep the fabric. Chiffon is ideal for this kind of project because it's light and flowy. You can put a ton of chiffon onto a dress like this and keep the overall weight down. For the most part anyways. Took a few measurements which really didn't mean anything in the long run. You'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. But I just kept going, cutting down the long lengths of chiffon to make skinnier but longer lengths of the same chiffon. There is a method to this madness, but it's not a good method. I just kind of eyeballed how long and wide everything should be. Because I've made this dress so many times, I felt beyond confident in my abilities to recreate it without any substantial planning, measuring, thinking. Yeah, if you feel like that might cause problems down the road, then you'd be right. But I'm not worried about it at all right now. I'm thinking let's get this done and ready to go. Now where's my matching thread? And cut to the fast sewing machine. I thought I was sewing both rectangles together, when in fact, I just sewed one rectangle to itself, and now I have to unpick that stitch. Because why not? Why not just make the same stupid mistake a million times? Why not? Do you want to know the worst part about this particular part of the project? If I had just let that one piece be and not unpicked the seams to add another panel, the overall dress would have turned out to fit better. Because I guess this is just the beginning of me overestimating how much fabric needs to go into this dress, as well as me underestimating my own stupidity. It feels all downhill from here, folks. That being said, this next part does still stand, so watch and listen carefully. When you are working with chiffon, you have to secure any raw edges, otherwise your fabric will fray like crazy and will be way more difficult to work with. I'm choosing just to overlock the edges, but you could also sew them with just a regular sewing machine, and I've also heard of people burning the edges with like a hot knife or a wood burning tool. Chiffon is great until it's not, and keeping your raw edges under control is the best way to make your life a little bit easier when working with this particular fabric. Okay, moving on to how to shear fabric on a standard sewing machine. Elastic thread goes in the bobbin, regular thread goes up top, and then you select the longest stitch length that your machine has available. I like to do a little back stitchy at the start, and then I just sew and sew and sew. I'm choosing to sew in the round here because I find that sewing one long continuous stitch is way better than sewing multiple shorter lengths, because what happens if you sew lots of short stitches with the elastic thread is that the elastic thread pulls itself out, thus ruining the entire stretchy fabric shearing effect. So that's why I just sew my fabric into a tube beforehand and then stitch in the round. My older machine works better for this technique than my newer machine, which sucks because my older machine is broken right now. I mean, I can still use it to sew a straight line, but it really can't do anything other than that right now. The backstitch function doesn't even work. Yeah, I let a so-called friend use it, and when they were done, the machine stopped functioning properly. I need to go get the machine fixed, but too bad this infraction is too great to fix the friendship. Alas, I soldier on. With the tube top styled top done, I move on to the middle section of the dress, which is, yes, another giant rectangle! And I just sew a long running stitch down the top, and then I gather it down so that it can fit inside the tube top. I use a ton of pins to make sure that everything is in its right place for this part. It is super tedious, and honestly, watching myself do this part makes me remember that I don't actually like making dresses like this. I always think that it's gonna be so fun and easy, and it'll only take me an hour or two, but I am
hopelessly an underestimator when it comes to figuring out how long something is going to take me. Like, if I worked at 100% capacity the entire time, sure, I could get most things done within my projected timeline. But the problem is I only ever work at like 14% energy, and lately it's been even lower than that. I need a whole week just to fix the hole in my leggings, which means I should really be estimating more time for literally everything else. I have not touched this project for a couple of days. I've really tried to find time to work on it, but it just has not happened. And so today, I am gonna try my very hardest to just knock it out, finish the whole thing, and call it good, because I am running out of time on this, and this one definitely has a deadline. Because I feel like I'm starting to lose interest on this, and all I have left to do is just like a couple really long seams and a little bit of gathering, so I should be able to manage that while also watching the Hunger Games. Sidebar, I feel like there is a Hunger Games revival happening on TikTok right now. If you're watching this video in the future and the Hunger Games revival has like stopped happening, I'm not talking to you. I'm only talking to the people that are watching this in real time, okay? I am so deep into the lore and explanations of the whole Hunger Games thing. The new movie is coming out soon, so I suspect this is all part of a genius marketing ploy, because I am not a Hunger Games fan. Those movies really stress me out, and I've never even read the books because it stresses me out. But man, has the marketing on TikTok for the new movie got me absolutely hooked. Well played, media, well played. Like, look at me right here, I'm not even working, I'm just watching the movie. This video is sponsored by VeloStar. If you have ever wanted to make your own bias tape, this is the kit for you. The tools included in this awesome little kit will help you make your own unique bias binding and do so quickly and easily. The kit includes 4 bias tape makers ranging in sizes from 25mm, 18mm, 12mm, and 6mm. And all, as well as a few pins and clips, these will definitely come in handy, and an adjustable bias binding foot that fits most standard sewing machines. Everything comes in this durable little sewing case to keep all the tools in place and organized. Making your own bias tape is simple. You just cut your desired fabric into strips at a 45-degree angle and use the awl tool to feed the strips of fabric through the bias tape maker. I like to press my bias tape with a hot iron to keep everything nice and crisp. Here's a couple examples of some bias binding that I made for a big project that I have coming up. Sometimes I just like to make a few yards of bias tape before I even start a project. That way I have it on hand when it comes time to use it. The kit also comes with this 2-page instruction sheet and a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and then it'll take you to a ton more information about the kit. If you're tired of buying bias tape from the store, or maybe you can't find the exact right color, maybe you just want to take your sewing up a notch, this is the kit that will help you do so. Thanks again to VeloStar for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to that dress. I'm making really good progress, but I'm to the point now where I have to just overlock all of that. I don't know if I have the stamina. It's gonna be a lot. My best recommendations for when you have to sit and sew one long continuous thing like this is to take breaks, get up, move your body, have some water, and pause your movies. I prefer to listen to a podcast or even just music on my headphones while I'm overlocking something that's going to take me longer than 5 minutes, and I was sat here for a good 30 minutes sewing the raw edges of this giant tube of fabric. I was miserable. And the reason why I paused my movie is because my serger faces the opposite direction. Also, it's really loud, so I can't really hear what's going on. So headphones, podcast, music, that's my preferred way to go. Also, this light green pastel chiffon fabric is going to go on the very bottom of the dress, and I really like the color blocked look of the dresses that I've previously made, so that's why I chose a light and a dark green for this project. Something I'm just realizing now is that I have a parachute dress in pink, blue, and now green. That is literally the Powerpuff Girl colors, and shout out to 8-year-old me who loved the Powerpuff Girls, but could only watch the show at my best friend Tess's house because my family didn't have cable. Needless to say, I had a bunch of sleepovers at Tess's place. We would craft and bake cookies and watch Cartoon Network. Like, that's the life right there. Take me back. Back to the project at hand. I have all the light green chiffon overlocked, and I ran a nice long gathering stitch across the top of the tube and gathered it all down. It took forever. It took forever! And now I just have to situate that big long ruffle into the darker green ruffle. I am literally using every straight pin that I own to get this thing pinned into place and trying my best to make it look right. And getting everything pinned in properly matters so much more than you think it would, because what can happen is you accidentally sew through like a bunch of layers of chiffon instead of just the 2 that you actually need to sew through, and it makes for a heck of a bad time unpicking and resewing everything, and it just kind of makes you feel like giving up on the project as a whole, even though you're literally in the home stretch of the whole thing. And you know what? Mistakes are bound to happen, so don't give up. Just accept that perfection is an illusion and do your best. At least that's what I've been telling myself during this whole project. Ah, right there. Do you see what I'm talking about? That right there. I stitched through all that fabric on accident. Like, I did not intend to make it look like that. I only wanted to stitch through the top layer and the bottom layer. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. And so now all of this has to get unpicked and resewn because it looks like a really weird wedgie if you just leave it like that. You gotta pick that right out and set things straight. No fabric wedgies on this channel, not now, not ever. Well, except for the purple Ariel dress that I sewed. That's got a massive wedgie in it, and if you watch that video and look closely, you might see how ugly it is, but I did my best to hide it, so maybe you won't see anything. I spent another hour unpicking and resewing the ugly bits, but it turns out there was more to worry about than just my poor sewing. Oh man, do we have a bigger issue on our hands, friends. A big, ugly, terrible issue.
Yeah, hello friends. So what happened was that I felt like I could just eyeball the measurements of this dress. Turns out I needed to use a little bit more math / common sense because, like I always say, these videos are not tutorials. It is just me sharing my process, and sometimes the process gets really ugly and sometimes it's really boring, and I think this might have been a boring video, but I'm releasing it anyways. I make no apologies. The shape of the dress just kind of got away from me. I will show it to you. The reveal is coming. In fact, you know what? It's just right now.
For reference, this is more or less what the green dress was supposed to look like. I wasn't making an exact copy, but I was fully expecting to end up with something in this realm of parachute dress. Big, billowy sections with floaty fabric and perfect for frolicking in a field of flowers or running down a sunlit path. This is a very crunchy iPhone photo, but you can still see the movement here. It's exceptional. It's what dreams are made of. But it's not what the green dress ended up being. This absolute monstrosity is the green dress. Its shape is all wrong. There's too little fabric in some places and too much fabric in others. It doesn't quite flow the way I wanted it to. And I really should have seen this coming a little bit more because all I had to do was measure a little bit more. All I had to do is measure. That's it. I just needed to measure the rectangles to be the right size, but no. I chose the easy path, and turns out this time the easy path was also the ugly and horrible path.
It's so bad. Everything is wrong about this dress. The proportions are wrong. The top is too big for me, and like this section of green does not need to be this long. Also, it needs to be wider. I should have cut it in half this way and made it wide this way so that that green, this one right here, could have been on the bottom of that. But I didn't think that far ahead when I was making the thingy. I was just going, and then when I tried it on, I realized how stupid it looked, so I didn't even finish it. There's no straps, there's no underdress. It's just a bunch of gathered rectangles, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so ugly and honestly a waste of my time. I need help getting down. In the trash. Just kidding, I'm not putting it in the trash. I'll repurpose it into something else, but it's just not gonna be that dress because it's so bad. I threw it up onto the top of that railing from all the way down here. Honestly, I am laughing at myself because I sew enough to the point where sometimes I feel like I don't really need the basics. I don't really need a plan. I don't really need math or measurements. And I just kind of get carried away sometimes because my brain has already figured it out. But the problem is that whether I like it or not, some projects work out and some don't. And this project did not work out. My plan for the dress now is to simply unpick everything and turn it into something else. It's just so disappointing and like so much a letdown. And I spent days working on this. It's whatever. I've already almost gotten past it. Almost. But yeah, just because you are an experienced creator, just because you have skin in the game making things doesn't mean that everything is always going to turn out, and this one definitely did not turn out. I'm at peace with it. It's fine. I will continue to create because one time I tried to make this leather skirt, like this pleather skirt, and it had top stitching and everything like that. While I was making it, I was so proud of it. But then when I put it on my body, I realized that it was like completely the wrong size and it didn't fit. And I was so devastated that I just decided to give up sewing altogether. And then I didn't sew anything for like 4 years. Obviously, I'm back sewing now, but I'm to the point with this hobby where I don't give up on things. I just accept that they don't all turn out, and then I just move on, and then I use that fabric on a different project. That's just the way it is. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching. I make no apologies apologies because bad art is still art. And all art is valid, even when it's bad. Is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing or not. The good news is you can follow me on Instagram at Alexandria Lane, and more videos are on their way soon. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, now is the time. Click that bell icon so you get notified when I post, which seems to be like weekly. I never thought I was going to be the kind of person that could actually produce content weekly, yet here we are, and I've been doing it for a little while now, so I'm very proud about that. Let me know in the comments if you think this dress was an absolute fail or not. My feelings will not be hurt because I've already decided it was indeed a failure. However, the pink one is gorgeous. That's absolute gold. I love the pink one. Anyways, in this house we craft in pajamas. I will see you next time. And hopefully the project will actually work out. What am I even sewing next time? Hey, if you want me to sew something specific, put it in the comments and maybe I'll sew it. Also, maybe not. I really don't know.